Our first plenary speaker is Darren Calhoun. Darren is a justice advocate, a worship leader, and photographer based out of Chicago. He works to bridge connections between people of differing perspectives through story and relationship. Currently, Darren leads worship at Urban Village Church and serves in multiple capacities with organizations like Christians for Social Action, the Reformation Project, and Q Christian Fellowship. He also sings with a progressive Christian band called The Many. He's facilitated workshops and led worship for local and national gatherings and events, just like this one. Darren brings with him an international focus on communities being inclusive of diverse people and expressions as an authentic reflection of God's love and justice. Darren is an extrovert who loves hugs. Unfortunately, we can't give him any right now, but we can send him some virtual hugs. And he can be found on social media at Hey Darren or through his blog, darrencalhoun.com. So please join me in welcoming to our virtual stage, Darren Calhoun.
Hey there. My name is Darren Calhoun. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm so glad that you decided to show up for the Midwest Student Movement Gathering. I hope that you'll make this time together into something significant. I hope you'll come and connect with new people, dig into topics you care about, and most of all, consider that all things are possible in a gathering like this. In March of 2019, I was crowded in with about 50 people in a small gay bar on the north side of Chicago. It would be the first night of a monthly worship gathering for LGBTQ Christians and their allies. This gathering had grown out of a few friends who met up while leading worship at a conference. The thought was, we live in the same city, and why don't we create something where we can worship together when we get back home? So we wanted an event that we could invite our friends to, many of whom would never set foot in a church, even though most of us were part of fully affirming churches. But this was a chance to do something different. So one friend knew a bar owner, another asked to borrow some sound equipment, and we all contributed our individual talents to make something new happen. And indeed, something amazing was birthed: affirming worship. Passers-by would stop in curiously as they heard familiar hymns and contemporary worship tunes blaring out of the same bar that typically had go-go dancers swinging from a pole. Friends from various churches would show up to sing, play, or just hang out on a Tuesday night. Word got out, and we even were interviewed by the Chicago Tribune as the lead story on how Chicagoans were beginning to find new ways to merge religion and identity. By March of 2020, we will be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of affirming worship. As you probably guessed, that same week we gathered would be our last in-person gathering as Chicago shut everything down due to COVID-19. So here we are, a year into so much difficulty during our global pandemic, also full of so many possibilities. It hasn't been easy, but so many of us have figured out new ways to work, to go to school, to celebrate milestones, even how to make music from miles apart. And there are still so many unknowns as things slowly begin to open back up. For me, while I miss seeing friends face to face and gatherings like affirming worship, I also don't want to simply go back to the way things were. If nothing else, this past year has been a deep dive for me into a brave new future. Through today and tomorrow, you'll have the opportunity to discover and explore what possibilities are in front of you, even on a digital screen. And as with all things new, I want to offer this invitation to brave space. It's a powerful framing of how we can be together, knowing that it won't always be perfect or safe. It's written by my friend, Mickey Scott Bay Jones, the Justice Doula. She's a womanist, a contemplative activist, she's a healer, and a nonviolent direct action organizer. If you've registered early enough, you should have received a package containing several items that will be relevant this weekend. Feel free to grab yours now and read this along with me. An invitation to brave space. Together, we will create brave space because there is no such thing as safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we all have caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space. And together, we will work on it side by side.